Hello, my name is Christine Slaughter. I am a senior here at Spelman College. I major in political science and women's studies, and I studied abroad in Durban, South Africa during the spring 2014.
Great. So tell us why you decided to do a study abroad program.
It was actually a decision that was primarily not decided by me. A lot of my mentors and faculty just advised me to really take hold of the experience and to go abroad. So I ran along with it, and I was abroad.
Great. So how did you decide to choose Durban, South Africa?
I knew that I wanted to study abroad in sub-Saharan Africa, but I did not know where. So I actually had first wanted to study in Cape Town, and then everyone gave well, if you study abroad in Cape Town, it'll just be like going to another city in the U.S. So Durban came along as a city where it had great Indian influences, but also had like African culture. So I really appreciated that balance, and that's what determined my studying abroad there.
Great. And what barriers, if any, were there that kind of made you hesitate, especially since you just said like it was sort of a decision made for you to go abroad?
I would say the greatest barrier that I faced in getting abroad was really mentally preparing myself to go abroad, because I never, like I had said, a lot of my faculty mentors were saying, oh, you should go abroad, you should really consider this. But I had never made the decision that I really wanted to be abroad until I was actually on the plane. So I would say that was one of the barriers that I faced, just like mentally placing myself within the context of the country. So it took me maybe 2 weeks to really accept the fact that I was so far away from home and that I was really living in a place that was not accustomed to somewhere I was being.
And was finances, was that ever an issue? And if so, how were you able to fund your trip to South Africa?
Surprisingly, finances were like the least of my concerns. And I think that was really the beauty of studying abroad, was that for me, it was really cheaper than staying in school for that semester. So I really appreciated that there was so much financial support, both from Spelman and also outside sources. So I applied for the Gilman, and then there was a UNCF, which is the United Negro College Fund. They have a scholarship for students, for HBCU students who would like to travel abroad to Africa. So that was a big portion of it. And then there was a Martin Yannick scholarship from Spelman, and then also like other just financial supports and family really chiming in, because it's my first trip abroad, and a lot of people really were invested in seeing me get there, even when I had not a lot of confidence in myself being abroad. So finances weren't the concern.
Good. That's awesome to hear. What would you say was your most memorable experience, either your first time going there, even getting there, or, what kind of is your fondest memory?
My fondest memory, I would say I studied abroad in South Africa during a time where the country was celebrating 20 years of free and fair democracy by the ending of apartheid. So it was really exciting to be in a country that was really rich in that celebration and really celebrating that history. And they were also electing their new president. And I had the opportunity to engage with the national youth leader of the Democratic Alliance, which is the opposition party, and we're actually very good friends now. So I really appreciate I got to go to another country, but also really interact with the political leaders in a manner that I wouldn't have in the States. So I think that aspect of being abroad and then being in those spaces that I wouldn't have had access to, that was really most memorable for me.
Can you tell us what you were studying when you were in South Africa? Because that seems like a really unique opportunity for you to engage with them face to face.
Right. Our program, I did a program with the School for International Training, and it was on social and political transformation, and it really focused on how the country had changed in the short time that it's been able to have democracy. And I did a project on Black women in the Democratic Alliance, which was the ANC's, which was the primary party, their opposition party. And that's really where I did the primary of my research, in how Black women interact within the party and how they used their interactions in the party to shape their national identity.
Great. So can you share with us what you'd be willing to share about any kind of discrimination you maybe faced or that you experienced firsthand? What was the incident, and how did you sort of cope with that experience, whether it happened to you directly or whether it was something that you sort of witnessed?
I would say, just in general, being a person of color in South Africa, where the population is overwhelmingly of African descent, that was not necessarily a challenge, but that really coded how I interacted within most spaces in the country. So, really interesting. The first kind of onset discrimination, or more so prejudice, that I faced abroad was within the program that I was in, and we were having a discussion about just safety and security in the country. And one of the peers who's in the program, she asked a question. I'm pretty sure she meant it from a very innocent place, but she said, "How will I be safe as a white woman in the country?" And I was really taken aback, saying, "Wait a minute, am I just automatically under this veil of safety that I won't be targeted for crime, or I won't have any privileges where people want to take advantage of me?" And I just really didn't know what to say to her. So I think that was really the first case that really contextualized how I would move through the country, because some people in the program thought that I was automatically safe since I was black, but then the country assumed that since I am aesthetically black that I was South African. So that posed a lot of challenges. I'm just moving through the city, but towards the end I really capitalized and took advantage of it. But in the beginning it was really a point of, I guess, prejudice, I see.
Okay. And were there enough sort of support systems in place to help you navigate that situation? Did you continue to have, dialogue that you felt was sort of open and that allowed you to kind of express your concern with instances like that, considering it was coming from your peers and your fellow classmates?
Right. I think that's something that needs to be worked on within the program, because there was a system of support, but sometimes I never felt that was adequate to what I wanted to address. So the general advice will be, well, you'll be fine. Just imagine that you were back home and walking the streets of like inner city DC. I'm like, no, like that's not the case here. So sometimes the advice really didn't connect on one level, so I would really have to call back home or seek advice from my peers here at Spelman to really help me move through and determine what was best. And I think that was really the primary mechanism I used for myself. And also I really did an extensive amount of journaling to really reflect on things that were happening, to make sure that I was responding in a way that was both respectful to the country but also in the best manner for my safety, if that makes sense. So
Definitely.
a lot of journaling and then reaching back home for advice.
Okay, great. What do you think your experience in South Africa taught you that you don't think you would have been able to learn by staying on campus? It doesn't necessarily have to be hard skills like what you learned academically by meeting with politicians, but just kind of the soft skills that you gained, personally and professionally.
I would think the greatest soft skill that I learned was really about how to be aware of yourself, because a lot of, I guess, movements that I take advantage of here, and a lot of movements that I take advantage of, and a lot of things that I do, I never really recognize them, and they kind of go unnoticed. But I think when you insert yourself into a new environment, you really learn more self-awareness. And I know that's not really a soft skill, but I think that was the greatest takeaway that I had from being abroad. The academics and everything, that was fine, but everything else, I think just moving throughout the country and really gaining that experience of being an outsider somewhere really gave me a self-appreciation, but also a new level of self-awareness. And I think that'll just transfer with me anywhere, regardless of whatever space that I'm in or whatever I have to maneuver. So,
excellent. So my last question is, what advice would you give to students who might be interested in studying abroad, but are not so committed or just don't really know whether it's something that they want to do or not?
Well, first I would say you just have to do it. It's one of those experiences where you really won't regret being abroad, and you won't regret moving in new spaces and learning and gaining a new appreciation for the world and also for yourself. And I think that appreciation of self is just something that doesn't naturally happen here. So being abroad, for me, it did things that increased my confidence. It increased the way I thought. It really shifted how I thought of myself as a person. And I think that's very important. And I think if you want just a portion of that experience, you have to do something where you think you may be uncomfortable, or you have to really challenge yourself to take on a new adventure. So I would say one, just do it. And I always tell myself, if things are meant to be, they're going to come into place. So if all you have to do is have the passion and have the dream of going abroad, and actually it will come together. There are enough resources to make it happen, and your classes will fall back in order, and then you'll come back to school with really a renewed sense of why you're receiving an education. And that does happen on college campuses in the U.S., but sometimes it doesn't really click. So yes, I'm an advocate for going abroad, and I think everyone should do it. So, yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Christine.